Not everyone has trauma. Is that crazy to you? Because I've been having a lot of really interesting conversations with my art friends and how having trauma or being any kind of neurodivergent kind of affects your art making because of the way that we have to live and survive and how that affects your output. Even the expectation of having to have done something, some kind of productive every single day. If you're neurodivergent, you know that burnout is really easy to encounter, or feeling like you don't have enough energy to, at the end of a really long day after you've been to work, you got up, first of all, you got up, you took care of yourself, you drove yourself to work, you worked, you drove yourself all the way back, you probably made yourself something to eat, and now you're supposed to make something. Now you're expecting yourself to be creative and change gears and tap into this like free, open, out of the box thinking type thing after you just went through your whole like routine, and you're probably depleted because doing something that you don't necessarily want to do also gets to you to a point of burnout. And then if you add on top of that you have trauma, it's kind of hard to get into the mode of wanting to make something or being creative, and you know, like, what does that even mean? Like, getting into a creative mode, what does that even look like? Do you know? And then you spiral into this thinking of like, well, am I really an artist? Do I know what style I want to do? Do I know what direction I want to take this in? And you know what? I want to tell you a secret. I'm going to tell you a secret about being an artist. Is that none of that actually matters. All right. And this is why. Because when you are in the process of, when you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do, what it is you want to make, how you want to make it, what you want it to look like, the ebb and flow of who you are will also affect your art. So at the end of the day, actually doesn't even matter. Like, you don't have to have any of those things solidified, because what will wind up happening anyways is once you get into a series, right? You get into like, oh, I really like making these line drawings. I really love using this monochromatic like color palette. And you'll start making a lot of work like that, and you're like into it, and you're doing it, and you're making it. And then you get to a point where something happens, something changes, and now you only want to use bold contrasting colors. Does that mean that you're not an artist anymore? Or does that mean that something in you as an individual has shifted and changed, and now what you're expressing is different? You don't have to pigeonhole yourself, because other people are going to do that for you anyway. So you just leave that up to them, and you can focus on how and what it is you want to express in the moment, right? Like, what is it that you want to put out into the world, that you need to put out? So when we're in like trauma mode, we're not trying to push out. We're not trying to output. We're not trying to express, because we're going inward now, right? Things are introspective. You're self-analyzing and self-observing. You're not trying to even tell anybody anything at that moment. You're just, one, trying to survive, and two, trying to figure out what it is that's happening on the inside first. And that is totally fine. Just focus on that. Like, how are you going to help yourself through that in this moment as you're in that stage? What are you doing to process, sit through those feelings, so that you can get to a point where you even want to express those things? And how? Like, to what degree do you want to be vulnerable in that story, and how do you want to tell it? Because you get to decide that. You get to say how you want your story to look like, to sound, to be like. You get to decide what that looks like for you. And then once you get past all of this, right, like this digesting and hibernating and self-reflection, that is where you're going to find your artistic voice, because all of these things that you're doing when you're processing is just like organizing these events of your life and how they've influenced you and what they mean for you. And it's really hard to write the story of your life and then be able to articulate that on paper, on canvas with paint, if you don't know all of the components and where they go. So once you figure all of that out and you feel all of your feelings and you now are like, how do I want to do this? Now you're going to start muddling through like, okay, what colors do I want? Which ones work? Do I want to use fine lines? Do I want to use chunky paints? Like, there's so much experimentation going on at this point. Not everything's going to look exactly how you want it to look, and that's part of the whole thing too. And through this whole entire process, you will start to find and feel out like this assertion, this like vindication for the work that you're making, and you'll find that voice. The voice, really what it is, like your particular style and voice, all it is that moment where you make something and you're like, I know exactly what I want from this, what I get from this, and I am absolutely okay and fully accept this. Whether or not you don't even have to be confident in it. You don't even have to think it's the best work you've ever made. All you have to do is look at it and accept it, and there it is. Period. That's it. And the thing about this whole process too is that it won't happen once or twice. It's a whole lifetime thing. And everybody's process is going to look different. The output is going to be different. And that's fine. It's all good. Okay. Like, there's not one particular way to do this. Not one particular thing it's going to look like. There's no formula for it. At the end of all of it, you're still an artist. You know what you're doing and you know where to go. You've already decided that you want to create. You know that you want to be an artist. All you have to do is decide that you are one and sit through those feelings and figure out how you're going to say them. Art practice. Boom. That's it. It's very simple and complicated at the same time. I'm going to be coming out with the whole Neurodivergent series here, but if you want to support even more, I'm also coming out with a subscription-based thing that comes with tools and resources on my website. It's going to have the videos, downloadable stuff. Part of why I'm making that is because I got banned from TikTok. I tried to go over to other platforms that were being funded by things that I don't want to associate with. So I'm trying to do that on an individual basis on my own on my website. You're an artist. You're an artist. Don't forget it. You're doing great. Just keep going. Just keep making stuff. And also, if you have a story about this process or how you make stuff, I want to hear how you do it. What does it look like for you?